Welcome to Good Vibrations, episode 172, and this is very much following on from the last one with Jonathan Halstead in the UK that was talking about the incoming consciousness shift that is said to be on the way very soon now from the 21st of December 2020. I'm crossing over to Australia to speak to JCK. Welcome on, JC.
Hi, Mark. It's so wonderful to be here. I'm really honoured to be here, actually. Well, so I hold you in very high regard. So
I appreciate that. So you are one of these individuals that's really blown up this year. Your whole world has just kind of exploded. You're very familiar on YouTube. You get a lot of love for the videos you put out. It's kind of similar to Al Pasoni in the UK and Charlie Ward, I guess, out there in Spain. You're all people who a lot of people wouldn't have known anything about prior to 2020, but due to the events of this very unusual year, now you have a very big fan base, you have listeners all over the world, and everything has just blown up for you. Yeah. So how do you feel about all that?
Well, I'm just sort of flying by the seat of my pants. It's become very normal now, and this is now my job. But at the time, I have to say, it's taken me quite a long time to get used to. It's not something that on the surface, I didn't expect it, and yet at the same time, I think my whole life I kind of did expect something like this to happen, because from a very, very young age, I just always knew something incredible was going to happen in my life. And it was, I've been psychic from a very young age, but that wasn't the main thing that was my focus. It was, I'm an artist, so I could draw from a very, very young age, a gifted artist, from the age of 2. So I just always had that thing in me where people would tell me, you're going to be famous one day, you're going to be famous one day, so from the age of 2. So I think that might have been a kind of an indication that something was going to happen, maybe from before I was born, that there was that kind of indication. But coming into 2020, this seemingly accidental thing happened, where I uploaded some videos thinking I just wanted to tell people about these meditations I did, or these journeys that I did, where I saw some very spectacular things in different remote locations around the world. And I wanted to create my own Facebook group after losing a whole heap of friends that didn't agree with me on the whole COVID thing.
We've all been there.
Yeah. So I created my own group. I had gotten to this point in my life where I was just like, you know what? I just want to just fuck everyone off. And I just wanted to be with the people who were like-minded like me. And I wanted to create my own group. And I did that thinking there would just be a few of my friends and a few of my other admins' friends in there. And then I could share whatever I wanted on there. And I could put these little videos up that I did just very candidly explaining these meditations that I did. And none of it at all was on purpose. But when I realised the impact that it had, very quickly blew up. The first video I did, which was what's going on underneath Australia, or under Australia, I think that's what the title of it was, that went viral big time. And even with YouTube shadow banning me heavily, it still has done 100 and something thousand views in a very short space of time. And it got shared everywhere. And this was all because I saw some demons underground, which even that was just, completely left of field. I did not expect to see that. And when I did this journeying or remote viewing of what was underground, and that in itself just, it catapulted me into a certain direction that I did not expect to go in. And I think in the end, this is all meant to be when I really look at it. And how am I handling it? It's now my job. That's how I see it. It's now my mission. And we were talking off air about how, thousands of people, contact us and talk about how important we are to them in their life, and give them hope. And
we couldn't stop doing it if we wanted to now, could we?
You can't. You are literally compelled to do this, and without
creation.
Absolutely, obligation. And it's just sort of, you have to follow that flow. And we were saying that it's kind of like, it's like God's work. You kind of, without sounding really twee, it's you're compelled from some other force to keep going for the good of the people. And that's kind of where I'm at, and that's what happened. I mean, everybody who knows me is familiar with the story. And in the end, it's not about fame, it's not about numbers, it's not about subscribers, it's about none of that. It's really about a message, and it's not about predictions. And I want to say that very clearly, because when you think psychic, you think, oh, predictions, right? Okay, so she's going to predict stuff, and that's not the only thing I do, and I don't think that's what I represent. It's a nice little tidbit, but there's more to it than that. So, yeah.
Do you feel any of this would have happened in your world without the C word narrative coming along? Was that the trigger for everything? Or do you think you'd still be doing this even if that hadn't occurred?
I think that 100%, this year and all of the horrible stuff that we've had to go through was the contrast needed to catapult this and many other people into what we're doing. We needed that, because that dissatisfaction and that anger at the world, at the 3D world, it had to occur in this way. And even in my own private life, I mean, without revealing too much, the people around me, their resistance to what I was saying is also what catapulted me into doing this, or what put me on this trajectory. And when you look back, a lot of the times, these are the things that make you more determined to do what you're doing. If everything's hunky-dory, and this is what a lot of people don't realise, we all wish for this beautiful, perfect world, right? And everybody keeps saying, when is everything going to get better? When is everything? And they're just imagining this perfect world, everything's wonderful. You're not going to, what are you going to do when you get there? It's not going to be very fun. You kind of still need that contrast. You need that little thorn in your side to get you to do the things that you're doing. And I think that, if it wasn't for the C word, I would still be sitting there, not really motivated to do anything in particular. I'd probably be sitting at home crocheting and looking after my daughter, and kind of going, maybe I should get a part-time job, when she starts.
It doesn't sound so bad compared to some of the stuff that's been going on.
I know. But yeah, I think that all of this has happened for a reason. I see this year as horrible as it is for so many people, and I understand. I get the struggles, and I understand all of the turmoil that people are going through. But at the same time, this year is such an incredible year for creation, because of this this duality, this contrast that has caused us to want something else and choose something else. It's the same with relationships. People are seeing in their relationships that they're starting to say, I need to split up from my partner. I need to, this is not what I want. They're seeing that highlighted more. Yeah. They're seeing it highlighted more and more and more, because in order to choose something better, you've got to, there has to be something that challenges you to get to that point. And this is what this year has done for everybody. And I think that there's been a lot of people coming into their own in this truther community. I mean, I just can't even believe how there's been this convergence of all these different talented people who seem to have been handpicked from greater forces to be the right way showers and the right sort of communicators for certain truths.
Well, like I say, there's a lot of new names that have come through this year that I wasn't familiar with before. And they're getting a lot of attention on YouTube. They're getting a lot of views. They're really making an impact.
Yeah.
More so than some names that have been around for 10 years or more.
I know. I mean, I followed you for many years. I mean, I can't even remember. Oh, gosh, at least. How long have you been doing the Good Vibrations podcast? Because
it's getting on for 10 years.
10 years. Wow. Okay. So I probably discovered you through Mike Williams, Sage of Quay. And even when I say Mike Williams, and I say this to people, in this current group that's sort of newly emerged, they go, oh, I haven't heard of him, you know, sort of thing. I'm like, wow, you know. So, I mean, I've been following you and Mike for at least, let me try and think, at least 6 years, maybe. And, you know, I always absolutely just love both of your work, and that you guys were the go-to guys for a lot of the research and dissecting a lot of things that were in this 3D world and that didn't make sense.
We did a lot of good shows together. We've done a lot of good shows on the music industry and the Beatles and McCartney and how simple life seemed back then, just talking about the machinations of the music industry. That seems almost childishly simplistic and just straightforward now with everything else that's going on.
Funnily enough, at the start of this year, because I was following you, and like I said to you off air, I said, you're my David Icke. I really admire you in that regard. You know, that's how much I admire you. And at the beginning of this year, I had compiled all this research of a particular musician that, you know, and I was like, I got to show Mark Devlin this research. And I heard that you were coming to Australia, and I was just like, that's it. I'm coming. I'm going to go see him. I'm going to go meet him after the show. I'm going to show him this research. I want to show him all these little.
It was expert timing. I was due to leave on the 16th of March. Yeah. And it was the very week that Australia got plunged into lockdown. Great planning there.
I know.
It really worked well, didn't it?
They just didn't want you here, Mark. They did not want you in the country.
Well, they kept David Icke out, and one way or another, they kept me out as well.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember I just was so devastated. I was like, oh, my God, I'm going to meet him. Now, if you had told me back in March, if you had told me, JC, not only are you going to meet Mark Devlin, you're going to do an interview with him on his show, and you're going to have your own YouTube channel. Like, there's not even a fragment of me would have known that. You know, it's just it's been full of surprises, this one. It's been an astonishing year. I as negative as so many things have been, I think I've actually really enjoyed it for the challenges, honestly, and for the changes and things like that. So that's just me, but you know,
I've hated every minute myself.
I know. I watch your videos on your poor Mark.
I've hated every minute.
Poor Mark.
I get up there and do these videos out of obligation to God and creation, and for no other reason. I do it because I have to do it. I don't do it because I enjoy it.
Oh, Mark, you're such a misanthrope, aren't you? Not really, because you're doing service for mankind, so you don't really hate people that much, do you? Or you just hate the...
Let me just say that this year people have really disappointed me. I've been so disappointed with humanity as a whole, as a collective, in terms of how easily they've fallen for this monumental psyop, and how willingly and obediently they've been going along with all these ridiculous, absurd dictates with very little pushback, very little resistance. There's been some, obviously. There are small pockets of people, and there are groups that have sprung up in different parts of the world that are pushing back against this madness, this tyranny, standing up for our rights and freedoms. But on the whole, people's behaviours have just disappointed the shit out of me. Look at them all scurrying around like frightened little rats in masks, standing behind bits of tape, wearing a face mask and a visor. In case it gets under the visor, you know, phew, thank God the face mask will protect me. It's just unbelievable behavior from grown adults who would consider themselves to be intelligent. And it's behavior that a 5-year-old would be questioning because it makes no sense. And all because of the power of fear-based propaganda coming out of the mainstream media, and because of this blind trust and faith that people have in their governments. They still seem to labour under the delusion that the government wants what's best for you and the government is there to represent your interests. They still haven't figured out that it doesn't work that way. Disappointing as hell.
It really is, you know, but I just don't focus on those people. And I know that sounds like I'm delusional, but I'm very much of the school of thought that where you put your focus is where, you know, your consciousness is very important. Like where you're putting your focus and attention is what you're creating and what you're manifesting in your world. So if we're constantly staring at and looking at and plunging into the world of we'll call them NPCs, okay? There's another word that I use for them. So NPC is non-player character, okay? This is a term from gaming, and a non-player character is within a computer game. The computer game itself has characters created in it, and they are part of they are part of that computer simulation, okay? That's what I call those people that wear masks. They are NPCs, and that sounds so derogatory, and it sounds really horrible.
Backdrop people is another expression.
People. Yes, they are. They are like backdrop people. Now, it doesn't mean they're not sentient, and it doesn't mean they're not soulful, and they don't have feelings, and they're not important. They are all very, very important people. But the way they behave is almost like cookie cutter type people with no thought of their own.
They're running software programs. They're just programmed, and they're just like a machine.
Yes, they're running programs, and they're just going along with, they're going along with what's being told, what the computer system, what the AI has told them to do. And then you've got the rest of us, and this is not a superiority thing. it's just different ways of thinking. We're more likely to question the programming that is going on. We're more likely to question our reality and the status quo. And that's where the rub comes. And we're kind of seeing this more and more, and this duality is occurring. It's this split in this society is occurring more and more. But I think that that's all for a reason. It's all by design. And I think that we're kind of it's there, I guess, in a way to challenge us, to help us to awaken to ourselves. We need that stark contrast for us to wake up and go, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want this, and to choose something else. And I think that once people recognize and understand, because when you're talking about all this stuff, this truther stuff, you could be one of two types of truthers, or more than two types. But there's the ones that are into the fear porn, okay, and they're usually they're usually very left brain kind of people. So they're stuck in 3D, they're stuck in facts, figures, and really a very pessimistic view about the world. Well, you might as well.
They're the ones that will tell you that Trump is a deep state actor. He's not to be trusted.
Yeah. Or he's in a cult or something like that. And you see, I don't come from that. I'm not Pollyanna, and I'm not like, I am still, I feel like a realist, and I still feel like I am quite, I have some level of skepticism and cynicism and things like that about me. I'm very grounded, but at the same time, I employ very strong instinct in everything that I do, and it's become more and more apparent. So as I'm employing this instinct in this job that I now have over the last 3 months with this YouTube channel, I've realized that I can't watch many people's videos anymore. I can't contaminate any information with other people's research. I can't contaminate myself with any mainstream media information. The only information I'm getting is from people writing me emails going, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that?
It's the same with me.
And I just go, I don't want to hear it. And I sometimes
some of the output from the doom and gloom truthers in the alternative media realm makes me feel just as unsettled and sick as the mainstream media. So any mainstream media TV broadcast that comes on, if I'm in the vicinity, I have to get the hell out of there or switch it off, because it seriously makes me feel physically ill. But a lot of output now from many truthers, many broadcasters and authors that I've looked at their work for many years, but what they're coming out with now, all this dreadful, devastating doom and gloom laden material, oh my God, this is what they've got planned for us. I can't stand to look at that anymore. So I have to switch off from these people. No longer paying attention to their channel. I can
tell you that they're running this narrative that is absolutely false. I can't say it any other way. I don't know how else to tell you. I'm not just trying to blow sunshine up your skirt. I knew this way back at the start of this pandemic, that this bullshit, because I had started to fall for it. I'd started to fall for the doom and gloom, and I was going, oh my god. But then in the pit of my stomach, I kept checking in and going, this doesn't feel right. This information does not feel right. It feels almost like and I didn't want to say disinfo. I think there's a lot of misguided information that's then parroted, but there was a lot of it that was very unfounded. And I do know now that I'm in this truther community, I have become very discerning with those who are prominent, who are spreading disinfo, and I can spot them a mile away. And you would be surprised, let's just say from their absence, you will know them. Okay, so meaning I will not associate with them. Okay, so they probably say 70% truth, and the 30% is actual disinfo, and it's deliberate disinfo. I'm not talking about people who might have got it wrong, that they thought they were onto a correct piece of information that had been given to them, and they went through and told people about it, and then they went, oh shit, that's wrong, right? That's an accidental sort of piece of information that got out. I'm talking that these people are deep state, even satanic. Okay, and I have come across some that are supposed to be light workers, and they're not. And I'm telling you that some of them are satanic. That is how convoluted some of this information is.
It's really
that is out
sorting the
there.
sheep from the goats.
It's really,
And you know, the level of deception and malevolence involved in putting somebody out there on a public platform who proclaims to be on the side of humanity, on the side of creation, who claims to be exposing the deep state and exposing these Satanists and pedophiles, who is in fact doing their bidding. That is a special kind of evil.
Absolute evil. It's disgusting, you know.
That people would do that just beggars belief for me.
Absolutely.
I've obviously underestimated the depths to which humanity is capable of sinking.
I know. I search I sit there and say, do they know they're doing this? Are they MK Ultra'd? And they're, you know, do they know that they're doing this? And I actually, I'm starting to believe, and I've discussed this with some of my friends who have also picked up on it, and they've said the same thing. And we're talking about the people that you know, Mark, that we've all come to the same conclusions separately and gone, oh my gosh, you too, you've worked that out too, that this person is not good. We've all sort of come to this conclusion that we're literally talking about, now your audience might not believe this, but I have really truly, because if you're seeing the metaphysical world and it's not just this 3D reality, you are literally seeing entities attached to these people. Okay, so if you're seeing something with different sight, with your sixth sense, and you're seeing things that are not visually, you know, physically there in the 3D world, and we're looking at a different other dimensions, these people have dark entities attached to them. And through these demons, whatever you want to call them, entities, attachments, archons, all of these sorts of things, AI, whatever you want to call it, there's different sort of entities and attachments that can occur in people. They, it's like a parasitic sort of relationship, and these things kind of trigger these people to do these acts that they're doing, or can make them behave from a very, very dark place. And then you've got people who are knowingly doing, some people are knowingly conjuring these things up, and they're hiding it. And I don't know what this is, but I've seen it. I've sort of tapped into it. Other people have said that they've felt the same thing about these people, that these people are presenting as though they are from the light and the love and light community. And behind closed doors, they're in covens. They're literally like, it's literally that bad. Okay. And they're getting power. They're getting power from the people, from the attention, from whatever. I mean, I don't know what this is. I don't know why they're doing that.
Compare some notes and compare some names when we go on.
Okay, sure.
Sorry, not for the broadcast.
We won't do that in the broadcast. Absolutely
I wanted to ask you about that, because you intuit messages and visions. You know, you channel these things and you get these remote viewing kind of visions of things. Someone of a religious persuasion might say that's a dangerous process because you don't know what you're letting in. You could be inviting in negative or demonic entities. How do you safeguard yourself against that happening? Do you make a kind of affirmation statement before you go into one of those conditions that you only want to bring in positive beings?
Okay, well, I don't bring in any beings, and that's probably so the way I and I've explained this in earlier interviews and things like that. So I'm actually not like what a typical, I don't channel per se, and I it's not that I can't do it, it's that I learned very early on. See, I'm in my 40s, so I've been doing this since I was about 18, and I learned in my 20s to through very, you know, difficult circumstances, through, you know, doing the wrong thing and what have you, with all of this spiritual work, that the one thing you don't want to do is channel things from outside of yourself. Even mediumship work, I gave that up a little while ago because of, I questioned, and even spirit guides, I sort of questioned all of it. I was like, okay, wait a minute. If I'm asking for something from outside of myself to come in, that's opening up a whole can of worms right there, okay? And that's something I can't trust. The only thing I can trust is myself and my own inner guidance and my own, I guess you would call it, you can call it higher self, but when we say higher self, that's loaded with, that's loaded with connotations that you've got this thing outside of yourself up above you. But really, you're going within to your heart center. It's your, it's kind of like the core of who you are. It's this soul essence part of you that is the truth, and that is connected to God. Sure.
Okay.
All right.
So in a lot of your videos this year, you've been talking about these intuitions, these visions you've had of specifically the children that we're hearing have been kept captive in these underground tunnels and these deep underground military bases. You've had some very clear visions of that. The unfortunate thing about it is that although it's an aspect of the narrative in terms of what seems to be going on this year under the smokescreen of COVID, there is no documentary proof or evidence to prove that this is actually going on. And a lot of left brain types, a lot of skeptical types would say we can only accept that that stuff is real when we've got something to show that it's actually been taking place, like some video evidence, documentary evidence, eyewitness statements, that kind of thing. All of that is lacking. And what we have is statements from yourself and many others that say they've had these kind of visions. Gene Decode's had a lot to say about all this as well.
Decode, yeah.
So for many people, it's not enough to have a psychic or a medium saying, I've seen this stuff, and they will only believe it when there's something more tangible available. Do you kind of empathize with that point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. I empathize with it. But however, I have seen, I think Gene Decode did do a video with somebody, I don't know who it was that was interviewing him, and they did have footage of military going into underground bases, and very clearly in one of the footage there was a soldier holding a child. And I've also had, we do have testimony from adult victims of people, so they were part of these underground tunnels. I myself have ex-SRA or satanic ritual abuse. I have a friend who was a satanic ritual abuse survivor who's actually quite prominent as a whistleblower, or she's given her testimony on a few channels and things like that. And she has been talking about these tunnels for decades, okay, and gone to the police and talked about them for decades. We have evidence. You really have to look for it. This is not just something that's just happened this year. You have to look. I understand what you're saying about we don't have. You're saying that there's no evidence of children being rescued from tunnels, and yet, if you know where to look, there is, okay? And it's just a case of, it's not just going to be in plain sight. The other thing is you're not going to have, and there has been footage of children being taken off, who've been part of child sex trafficking and things like that, that have been on large ships and things like that. We've got lots of footage and images of that. But if you're talking about, have we got footage of children literally coming out of tunnels in, say, out of Victoria and things like that? Well, you're not going to have something like that because it's a military operation. We've had footage of military things going on. You've had footage of planes leaving and things like that, or maps and things like that. I guess you could piece together these things. You have footage of earthquakes being mapped around Australia, for example. We're not on a major fault line here. We don't have major fault lines running through Australia. It's very rare that you get earthquakes, and yet when you map out these earthquakes that all occurred during lockdown, it maps out a tunnel system, and every single supposed explosion or whatever earthquake sort of hit was exactly a certain sort of distance underground, and that maps out a tunnel system. There is evidence there. You just need to know where to find it, and you need to know the right resources for that. My thing is with the children themselves, you're not going to see where they are. You're not going to see basically everything in this world. And one of the arguments I have is that everything you've been told is a lie. Okay, so when you in this world, the fact that we don't know what it looks like, we don't know what maps look like, we don't even know the population of the earth, all of that is a lie. The actual land masses of this earth are not what you think they are. Okay, you don't know where. So where are they taking these children, for example? Where are they? How come they're not in our hospitals? They're in no place you know about. Okay, they're not going to take hundreds of thousands of injured children or rescued children and women, and there was other people as well that would have been rescued, and a lot of people did die as well. You're not going to have this in plain sight in front of people. So unfortunately, this really has to come down to faith, and if you're not going to have it, well, then it's just one of those things you're going to have to discard and not believe in.
It does require faith, because there are three narratives running here. So as far as the average normie, the average member of regular society is concerned, who watches the mainstream media and listens to government statements, there's this terrible virus, this pandemic that's been going around the world, and we've got to develop a vaccine to protect ourselves from it. It's the only way of dealing with it, and we have to lock everything down. We all have to wear masks. It's the only way of dealing with this terrible virus. That's the way the vast majority of the world's population, sadly, still thinks, has been programmed to think. Then you've got the sort of regular mainstream truthers, if you like, who will say that this is all a scamdemic, which it is. The whole thing was planned. There are all kinds of ulterior motives going on beneath the surface. It's designed to usher in the World Economic Forum's Great Reset, United Nations Agenda 2030, to strip us of our rights and freedoms. And all of this is being done to justify the bringing in of all of that. And these people will say there is documentation available to prove this. And there is. There's many documents that have come to light to show that this thing was planned for. There are many examples of predictive programming in movies and TV shows leading up to 2020. We can know that this was a plandemic. It was known to be coming. That's the second narrative. Then the third narrative is taking things a step further and saying that, yes, the C word, plandemic, is a smokescreen, but there's all kinds of other stuff going on beneath that that is not getting reported, such as the Q plan is a very real thing. Many researchers will maintain that there is a Q group that is working in conjunction with Donald Trump. The idea is to take down the deep state cabal, to hold these criminals, all these child traffickers, these pedophiles, these corrupt politicians to task, to judgment. Eventually, there's going to be military tribunals for these people at Guantanamo Bay. There's going to be executions of some of the worst offenders. We've also got this narrative that there are deep underground tunnels and bases where children have been kept captive as part of the adrenochrome industry and part of these horrific child trafficking gangs. So this level of the narrative, as you've just said, requires faith. It requires trust. It requires you to be able to believe in your heart of hearts that there are good people doing good work out there. It's not getting reported, it's not getting seen, but it's happening. It requires faith. There's not going to be any documentation available to prove this. So it's a question of whether you have that faith or not. And I've been very honest in my videos, and I was very honest in the chat that I had with El Pasoni last week, that I am someone who requires proofs and I require evidence because I'm trained as a researcher. And I made the point that if I'd put out my two books, Musical Truth, with no citations, with no references, I'd made all these wild claims about satanic ritual abuse and mind control in the industry, if I'd not been able to back that up with something to show where I'd got the information from, nobody would have taken those books seriously, and my reputation as a researcher would be severely tarnished. But with this one, you've got to have that faith or you haven't. You've either got it or you haven't. And it's very difficult for somebody like me, and probably many others that think like me, to be able to invest ourselves fully in having that amount of faith and trust. Is something I struggle with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can understand, because, and you know, let me just say, your work on Musical Truth, the reason, the fact that you did all that research is what made it absolutely wonderful and worthy of reading. Okay, you had to do that for that reason. Okay, because you're coming from
pages
research.
of citations.
Pages, absolutely. It has to be for that reason. Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate and say all three of those narratives are correct. Okay, all three of those narratives that you just said are correct, because it depends on the observer and where they're observing it from. Okay, and so my stance comes from you as a creator, and you have to, I mean, look, there's going to be people in your audience who are just going to say, what bollocks is she talking about, creator? What the hell is she going on about? You're a manifesting machine, okay? Through your observation, and this is where the Dark Cabal have come in, okay? They know that with what you put your attention on, you create your reality, okay? Where you place your focus is what manifests this reality. And they have steered our focus in a particular direction with music, with our television, with the mainstream media, with our food and all of that. Everything has been channeled into one particular focus to create a certain reality and a certain outcome. And some will say it's predictive programming, or they did it because they knew we would manifest that story. Okay. They wrote 1984 because they knew we would manifest that story to come to light, because that is exactly what they wanted to do. Okay, so all of this stuff is about creation and how this reality is created. You cannot just observe this as a 3D person, because this world is multi-dimensional. It is not just a 3D world. Take that sort of premise under your belt and go, right, okay, multi-dimensional world, therefore it is many things. Even this war that we're going through at the moment, because this is a war, it's a war between good and evil, is multidimensional. So knowing that where you place your focus is going to create your reality. If you're going to be the person that focuses on mainstream media, well, guess what? You're going to be one of those people that the narrative is there's this virus, blah, blah, blah. That is going to be so real to you, and that's going to be creating your reality, that is true for you, okay? And then you've got these other sort of truthers, like we said, that they believe there's this new world order, especially in Victoria, for example. They were living through absolute hell. And I'm telling you, when I did a remote view on this premiere, what I can say is the thing that I saw very, very clearly, as clear as day, and I did get, and like, see, this is the thing, is like I get these intel sort of things after I put something out, and they're going, you're absolutely right, blah, 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 he was this, he was that. And then I can't say it. So it's like, well, that bit of evidence I can't really share, because it's like, well, he said this and I'm just telling you, you've got to trust me. Okay. So I get intel afterwards saying what you remote viewed, exactly what happened.
Where does the intel come from?
Just random people saying that, or for people who have military connection, or from somebody I trust.
So these would be people who claim to be insiders who reach out to you to confirm things that you've said. Yeah.
Okay. And this is the thing. I go, okay, all right, well, I've got a lot of, they could say anything they want to say to me. Do I take it on board? I don't know. I don't bother sort of, it's sort of just is something I keep to myself. I mean, it's rare that I would say it on an interview, but, it's always a confirmation of some kind, going in, like from pharmaceutical companies, for example, or what have you, saying what's happening on their end, and, you're right on the money with this thing about the vaccine, etc., etc. So back to Victoria in Australia, the premier there, I mean, the thing that I remote viewed, the thing that I remote viewed was, this is a guy who was heavily MK Ultra'd. satanic. I actually saw it, and this was like it's clear as day. And I had an ex-SRA survivor say that what I was describing was this particular place where they did satanic ritual abuse, and they were one of the victims in that place, etc. And what I described was typical, and that they knew that he was connected in some way. Okay, so this is, I've got to be careful with what I say. So anyway, and what I described him looking like, etc., doing these rituals. So what I felt very strongly in this thing that I saw, this you could call it remote viewing, it was a vision, was that he was heavily MK Ultra'd from a very young age, was told, you're part of the New World Order, you're going to usher in the New World Order, you're going to do this and that. So he really believed this is what he was doing, okay?
Well, that's
and
how
that
they do
was
it.
the
I mean, my
plan.
research has borne out that with these bloodline families, they raise these people from the youngest age and allot them roles. So at the age of 5, they'll be told, you're going to be a famous actor, you're going to be a famous musician, you're going to be a famous politician. They're born into these roles. So that absolutely checks out.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he was told. So, but the very surprising thing that I saw was that that whole state was infiltrated by what you would call another layer of military. It felt US, and I would call it, and I don't, the term white hat is very loaded. Let's say it's an alliance, okay? It was another level who had come in and were actually running the show, okay? But they needed to play this out, and they needed him to play it out. And they were doing things like code words to him, like it was like a trigger. They were doing things like whispering in his ear, and he'll go, yes, okay, I'll do this. So they were really running the show and letting him shoot himself in the foot with all of this. It had to play out in a certain way. I don't know why they're doing it like this. I don't, this. I don't know why
going on. That's going on around the world now. We're seeing a lot of play acting. We're seeing a lot of theatrics. We're seeing a lot of going along with scripts.
Yeah. Because they have to do everything in a certain time frame. So they have to do everything on a 3D level. So, for example, every T has to be crossed, every I has to be dotted. In terms of legal procedure, they need to ensure that if they're going to get rid of a cabal that has been ruling the world for thousands of years, they can't let this happen again. Okay, so they're going to have to, it's going to be a process, and the process goes through, they have to go through everything in a legal strategy, military strategy. It's run on so many levels: legal, military, and metaphysical. Okay, because you've got this occult practices that are going on underneath it all. So you've got things that you're dealing with, like demons and things like that, and these things that have been conjured by these satanic cabal that runs everything. Okay, so you're also dealing with a metaphysical aspect that the alliance has to take down. There's so many layers to this, so you can't just rely on these evidence of a physical nature from a mainstream media news source. They're not going to tell you what's going on. You should know by now that every single piece of news that is coming out of the mainstream media is completely corrupted, and it's there to tell a story so that you can stay in fear and in that fear vibration, because the people who own the media are the deep state. They are the cabal. They are still there. They are the last thing that has to be taken down. Is the last thing that has to be.
They're the last line of defense between us and psychopaths, aren't they? Because without their fear-based propaganda and mind control, the general public would not be believing in these narratives. They're just so dangerous, the mainstream media. They've got to go. They've got to go as part of this. They're every bit as dangerous as the child traffickers, the paedophiles, the corrupt politicians. The mainstream media cannot be allowed to continue with their poison.
You can see it coming apart, though, right? You can see it coming apart because you're seeing in plain sight the absolutely ludicrous stories that are coming out. Like William Shakespeare, what was it? The first guy that had the vaccine was
they're telling
William
you
Shakespeare.
It's theatre. It's all theatre. What about this 90-year-old woman? First of all, she doesn't look a day over 65. And secondly, so she's supposed to be the first person to take the vaccine. That footage that they showed, that they claimed was from about 3 days ago, is from October of this year. It was trotted out then.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
old
yeah.
footage.
Well, I did a remote view of that yesterday. Video up. It went viral. I was like running out the door to pick up my daughter, and I thought, oh shit, I better do this video. So I had done a sort of a deep look into what's going on with vaccines, and I kept an open mind because I thought, now what is going on here? Because I had done it a few months ago, and I'd seen this compartmentalization of all the information about the vaccines. I even made a song saying there is no vaccine.
I saw that.
Put myself out there, you know, I really wanted to hammer it home, like, guys, come on, there's nothing.
Whatever you've been smoking that night, I want some.
Oh, yeah. And then the final thing was, okay, let's really look at this, because the people in the UK are shit scared. Let's see what's going on. Is there a dangerous vaccine? Is there an actual vaccine? Or is there a therapeutic being rolled out? What's going on? And when I looked at it, it's like dead end, dead end, dead end, dead end. It's being stopped. There's nothing. And the thing that was presented, so people were asking me, hang on, didn't make sense when you said this. Okay, so everything is compartmentalized. Okay, so all the people in the pharmaceutical think that there's something, that they're making a vaccine. The people who are doing the nurses and all of that on the ground, they've been given protocols, they've been given procedures, and doctors, they all think it's going ahead. So then if somebody interviews a doctor, the doctor's going to act like, yeah, well, when we have this vaccine, da 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 da. Then you get to another layer, say like a pharmaceutical company. I kept getting like, they don't have the ingredients. So what they're doing, they're going, right, well, we still need to make heaps of money. We've got these old batches of flu vaccines, and we're going to use that to send out.
There's all these horror stories of the ingredients coming out now. All the doomers are saying, have you seen what's in it? Oh my God, they're going to kill us.
Yeah, there was, I think, some trials from some place that did actually end in casualties and things like that. But you see, this is the thing. It's like, all of this now is being blocked. Okay, this is what I'm seeing, is like this big rollout is like it's being blocked. And what I saw was this clinic. In one of the visions was this clinic with the nurses like, what have we got? We've got, it hasn't come. The delivery hasn't come, and then nobody's told in the mainstream media. So then you've got this other layer where the mainstream media are running with the story, and nobody's told them what's really going on behind the scenes. So there's all these layers, okay, and I searched high and low in this vision, in this remote view, whatever you want to call it. I couldn't find it. There was nothing. There's no vaccine. And then after this, I just I'm straight out of the meditation. I start writing. Now this is from my higher self. I'm in that zone, and this is what I was trying to say before the audio went funny. That I don't channel outside of myself. I do not ask entities to come in and talk to me. I don't do any of that, because all of that can be corrupted by something nefarious. Okay, I don't want to be a victim to that. I rely on my own inner core, which I can sort of tap into, and this is why I don't look at news and stuff like that, because I really want to just stick to this intuitive side of myself. So I just trust, and it requires a lot of trust. And I wrote down everything I saw in this sort of script, and then I read that out. Okay, and I put it out there. And this is where I'm compelled to do this. I have to tell you that the only thing I can tell you is that a lot of this, if you're going to be a truther, and look, I put myself out there all the time. And I rely on, I have to be absolutely instinctual in everything that I do. I can't go from okay, this will get lots of views. Oh, I can't go from that ego side. I have to just go with my absolute authentic part of myself. It's usually this inner urge, and I do it and I put it out there. And from that, the audience themselves can discern, and they'll say to me, I look at you from the moment I saw you speak, from the moment I looked at your face, I could tell I could see that you were telling the truth. And there's something in that resonates with people. So what I believe I'm doing is that I am stepping out of the way, and I'm letting whatever information is coming from within me, I'm just a vessel from this source, okay? And source is, it's God, okay? And I'm not saying I am God. Please don't think that. God, if source is everything and knows everything and is everything, and every single person on this planet has this fractal, are a fractal of God, and they have access to that, that when you step out of the way and you let go, allow this information to go through, and you know you've practiced for decades how to just trust and let go, and you put that out there with no it's, you know, it's a risk.
No attachment to the outcome.
No attachment to the outcome. I take this risk and I put it out there because I feel it inside of me that this is going to do people good, and I'm putting it out there as a truth. Then all I can say is I stand by that, and I will not put something out there that I do not believe is true. That's it. That's where the faith comes in. And I can't, and I'm not going to do the research. You do the research, okay? So I have my role to play in this truther community. I'm there for a certain role. You've got other people that are parts of the puzzle that are going to add to this, okay? So there's certain people who have military information. There's certain people that have intel from other experts. There's certain people who are going to dissect the economic sort of structure of things and give you evidence of that. There's people that have got this legal information. You put all those pieces together and you'll get a picture. That's where the truth comes, okay? I am not going to be all of that. And I'm not here to just give dates and things like that. And we'll talk about dates in a little while. But and even now as I'm talking, I'm channeling stuff. That's why I can't stop talking sometimes, because it's just information just flows through. And that's what I've got to do. I've just got to do what I've got to do.
Did you see the footage of Matt Hancock appearing on Good Morning Britain the other day with Piers Morgan? Matt Hancock, the UK Health Secretary.
There's two lovely people, isn't there? Piers Morgan and Matt Hancock.
Where's a roof collapse when you need one? Yeah, so Hancock is laughing. He's talking about the administering of the vaccine. He mentions William Shakespeare and this 90-year-old woman, and he's laughing. And the way it's presented by Piers Morgan and the way it was reported in the press is Matt Hancock was overcome with emotion. He was crying at the launch of the vaccine because he's it's such an emotional moment for him to see this vaccine finally being rolled out. Now, either that means Matt Hancock is as evil and demonic as somebody like Bill Gates. He's an absolute psychopath, and he's reveling in the fact that they're rolling out a vaccine that's going to kill people, and he stands to make an absolute killing, excuse the pun, from the kickback that he's got from Bill Gates, the personal fortune that he's going to make through the rolling out of this vaccine. It either means that, or it means that he's play acting a role and he's laughing because of how ridiculous it all is. It's got to be one thing or the other.
I think it's the former, but I think that the behind the scenes, he doesn't realize that it's the plan is going to be foiled kind of thing. Okay, so again, we've got these layers, because I feel like they're still playing out these certain roles. Some of them are aware that they've been made to play out these roles. The one thing I did pick up for a lot of these people, for example, like Boris Johnson, and there's a couple of other leaders around the world where more than Blonde Bee, that's it, Blonde Bee, and Jacinta, who I call Hyacinth. They are very, very, they've been given a deal, okay? They've been found out for their nefarious activities, whether it's full-on satanic or basically just corruption in terms of like embezzling certain, funds and things like that, or funding criminal activity. And they've been given a deal. You play along with what we've got planned, or you get taken to get dealt with on a criminal trial, okay? And so a lot of them who are still in place are playing along, okay? And you can see that there is evidence of this with what they've got on there. And there's technology that you're not aware of. There is these supposed ankle bracelets. they're not normal ankle bracelets, okay? They're not tracking devices. They're actually self-destruct devices, okay? They're like, you're talking about like you do one thing wrong and you're gone, like your heart will, you know, that kind of thing. So that's how under the cosh they are, okay? The other thing I want to say, and it slipped my mind, yes, so this here's a thing that you want to talk about, okay? We're talking about the narratives. If the deep state was still in control of this planet, we'd all be dead by now. You'd be dead, okay? You would be dead. Very easy to kill a bunch of people when you've got all the technology behind you and you rule the world, but they don't rule the world, okay? There's still these, they're running around scrambling, basically, at the moment. You've got a whole heap of them still out there, but they don't have all the connections they used to have because the head of the snake has been taken down. So you've still got all these sleeper cells. You've still got all these little other people going, our boss is gone. What do we do? What do we do? Okay. And so they're still scrambling, but it's like they're rowing up the river with one paddle and they don't know what to do. They think they're still trying to carry out their plan. Yep. This is how I keep feeling it. And you would literally be dead by now if they were truly under control and they were going to carry out their Agenda 21, Agenda 2030.
Well, I've heard the accounts
it's not going
that
to happen.
The 13 Venetian families were taken out, and that's, you know, the head of the snake or whatever. I've heard the accounts of that. Again, there's no verifiable evidence, so that has to be a matter of faith. But I mentioned earlier that I'm someone that does require proofs and evidence, and there is some of that out there. So there have been a whole load of photographs of famous people, Hollywood actors, politicians wearing these ankle bracelets. It seems to be quite a fashion trend. There's got to be a reason why all these people are just having accidents and breaking their legs and tripping up, you know, and having accidents on skiing holidays and such. There's also this guy called Monkey Works on YouTube that's been making videos about all the flight activity over Guantanamo Bay, which has been really, really stepping up in recent times. For some reason, there's a lot of flights going into and out of that place. And then on top of that, you've got the proof that Team Trump is going to bring that the election was stolen, that there was major fraud. You know, I've seen enough evidence now to convince me that that election was an absolute farce, and they are going to be able to present the evidence which will prevent Biden from ever becoming president. It will expose the Democrats for the fraud and the treason that they used in this, and Trump is going to get his second term in office. So I've seen enough documentary evidence to convince me of all of that. It's just other things that are lacking.
So, and you've also got occulted evidence as well. So I talked to Richard Balducci. He's a friend of mine now, and he was on my, I found out about Richard through Mike Williams.
Sure.
And Richard contacted me on one of my videos, and then I was like, oh my God, Richard Balducci. So now we're friends. So he gives me a lot of scoops, I guess, on the occult sort of side of things. And when he does the numbers and runs the numbers, because these deep state people who've been planning things for centuries, they do everything by the numbers and their symbolism and all of that. So he's got information on that level that also backs up this stuff of that you know Trump will win, etc., etc. Okay, so it's all by astrology and occulted symbolism and ritual and all of that sort of stuff. So there's that evidence as well. But you've got to look at everything on different layers. What was the other thing about the ankle bracelets? Oh, I did a remote view on Guantanamo Bay as well, and the people that I saw there that were arrested, I can't say who it is, but I'll just say that I'll tell you off air. So somebody very, 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 very well known in Hollywood contacted someone that I know, and basically said that the actors, he revealed that it's true about the Guantanamo Bay thing, okay, that they are arrested, that they are being taken down, etc.
There's going to be a distinct lack of Hollywood movies in the cinema for the next few years, isn't there?
Yeah. And, you know, why is everyone so quiet and all of that? And the same with the Queen. I mean, where is she? You know, yeah, the Woman's Weekly would love to tell you that she's out with her corgis and doing all that stuff. This is all old footage. How do we know that that's what they do?
That's right.
I've got,
and there's a fake Prince Charles out there that they've been wheeling out this year.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw it.
Oh, every time you see Prince Charles doing an interview now, it's a fake. It's an actor.
Oh, is it?
God knows where the real one is.
But I want to know, how do you know the date of the interview?
Well, yeah.
Because they tell you, yeah?
Yeah.
They just tell you. How do you know when it was taken? This is the thing. People go, I saw so-and-so yesterday and he was talking. Okay, but when was that? When was that filmed? Oh, well, they said it was filmed yesterday. Okay, but they said it was filmed yesterday. So this is when you start to go, right, okay, hang on. The mainstream media is a complete lie. They're not going to, we know that they do this. We know they roll out old footage. Why are you still saying, well, hang on a minute, they just did an interview with Camilla the other day. Okay, well, how do you know it was the other day? Okay, you're literally believing a lying machine, this propaganda machine that has been around since, what, the 1930s at least?
They exist to lie. That's their job.
That is their whole job. Their entire job is to control the narrative and to steer your focus in a particular directions, because they are casting spells, because they know how this reality, this matrix is created. It is created through your incredible, powerful visions. Okay, you are a creator being, and they know it, and they need you to create this reality for them, to carry out their plans of power and complete, absolute destruction of the human race.
That's one of the reasons why they put their
energy.
predictive programming into movies. And all these Hollywood movies of recent years, they've all predicted the future, and it's always this dystopian society, post-apocalyptic. You never see Hollywood movies about this wonderful society where everyone's cooperating and everything's wonderful and everything's positive. You never get that kind of movie, because they don't want you manifesting that kind of reality.
I mean, what was the big show last year before all this? The Handmaid's Tale, right? They had this massive, you know, it was this, everyone was watching it. Was it last year or the year before? Everyone was watching it. Anything that was dystopian, it was being played out on Netflix over and over again. Zombie movies, all of this stuff, this whole notion of, you know, people becoming zombies because of some weird disease or what have you. They wanted to put that in your psyche so that you could then behave in a certain way to carry out their agenda. Even the Georgia Guidestones, I will say, is like a predictive programming thing. Okay, I mean, you know, it's there because this is how they do their rituals. I asked Richard about this. I said, why do they have to expose their hand? And he said, they don't have to expose their hand. He said they want to, because it's a signal to the other, you know, fucked up satanic, sorry for swearing, satanic cabal members to say, look what we did. Look what we did. You know, it's a signal to each other to say, we're doing this. Look what we're doing. Aren't we great? Okay.
And it's to get them off the karmic hook as well, as they see it.
Yeah. They believe that if they can show you in plain sight that they've got off the
tacit
hook.
Approval, and they're no longer liable for the damage caused.
Yeah, absolutely. They're off the hook. So, I mean, we see all of this in plain sight all the time, and we've got to understand that even if you don't believe in what they believe in, they believe in it. Okay, they believe in their rituals. They so heavily believe in it that they've got the whole world under a ritual spell. Okay, and that's coming down. This veil that we talk about. This sort of this what do they call it? The apocalypse is about the great revealing. Okay, it is this veil coming down, and on an energetic level, we are starting to see things more and more and more in front of our eyes. And I think this is why a lot of people are starting to see their partners are not the right one for them. They're, you know, all these relationships are sort of either falling apart or coming together. You're starting to see the truth for what it really is. In some cases, you're not seeing some friends of yours. I mean, my friends just don't exist anymore. I've got, like, I just don't know where they are. They've gone, right? It's a completely different frequency. You're seeing all of this because this matrix is crumbling, this entire reality, because the attention that we once held and kept, that, you know, that controlled focus that this deep state has made us sort of steer our direction, our vision in, is coming down, and we are no longer playing the game with them. And that's why we're seeing this thing, this final end game kind of playing out. You know, I could either take basically the way I see it is, okay, I'm not even going to say believe, because it's not a belief. It is absolute 100% faith and an inner knowing that this is not the end. This is not how it ends, okay? That what is coming is amazing, and it comes only after we go through this cycle of transmutation and change in ourselves, and a complete redirection of our focus, okay? And that as a society, more and more people are going to start to go and choose and create a brand new way of living, okay? Not everyone's going to be on board immediately, but they'll go in that direction. And I know that in the core of my being. And the way I see it is that if I am completely wrong, which I know I'm not, well, then we're all fucked anyway, and we're all going to die, and it doesn't matter. But I'd rather be happy and about to die than miserable and about to die.
If we get to June next year and Joe Biden is president, the United States is a communist super state, everyone's still wearing masks, we're told COVID is out of control.
I'm going to go throw myself in a lake.
No one owns anything. Your house and your car and all your possessions have been seized by the state. Are you going to conclude that it didn't quite work out?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll admit it when I'm wrong. Okay, absolutely, 100%.
But it's
but it's not going to be like that. In fact, I see changing, and I felt it. Other people have picked up on this too. You know, I've had some other remote viewers like Michael Jaco, and I've had some other psychics say the same thing. I mean, I've been saying this since before I was even on YouTube. I had like a whole article that I wrote, but now it's gone because I've been banned off Facebook. Like 3 of my accounts were shut down. I'm not on Facebook anymore, and I'm not on Instagram.
Good work.
Yeah. They took all my accounts out, and they took my group. I had a group that I had created in 3 weeks. There was 17,000 people, and they shut it down. We had to recreate a whole new group. So I've still got a group up, but anyway, so I had this. There's this thing that I can't shake, no matter how many times I tap into it, because I want to see if the timeline's shifted or whatever. But we're looking at the end of March is this massive shift. When I look at the timeline, there's this massive shift towards a positive direction. It starts to come out of this confusion and battle between good and evil. And we've got this massive shift, this upturn, because I feel in about April, it's like borders are opening. There's international travel. There's not, I'm seeing people with boarding passes and actually freely traveling. And it's not going to be about, you need a vaccine before you travel. It's not that. It's actually things are opening up.
Well, it's interesting that's the start of the true solar year at the spring equinox. You know, it kicks off around 21st, 22nd of March. So you're seeing that kind of time frame. And that would mark 1 year of all this COVID bollocks, because that kicked off at the spring equinox in 2020. So it's as if this whole ritual is going to have been dragged out for 1 whole year, March to March, the true year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's exactly how I keep feeling it and seeing it. I did get another date at the beginning of the pandemic. I remember waking up and I had this massive download of information. I wrote it all down, and there was this I saw, as I was waking up, these military guys and girls in front of computers, and they were cheering and going, "Yeah, we won!" And it was like and I heard in my head 21st of February, and then I heard Armistice Day. Okay, so there seems to be this battle at the moment, and I'm really feeling it. Look, behind the scenes, this is a war, okay? There's a war going on. So between now and this February period is this really contentious time going on, and they're really taking them down. They're bringing them in. They're bringing in the big guys, and they're doing these trials. The other thing I saw was mid next year, these trials start happening. It's almost like Nuremberg trials, you know. And they're really
bring them on.
They're really like they're really like making sure there is no loopholes, right? They're doing all of that. It all takes time. And I want to sort of reiterate something that people aren't aware of. That I remember Charlie Freak saying something about the NSA saying they have it all and blah blah blah. That the NSA presented to Trump this information where they were saying they have it all. When they say they have it all, you're not talking about phone records and footage and stuff. You're not just talking about that. They have the AI that controls this entire system. Okay, the good guys have control of the AI. There was, I believe, prior to 2016, I think that the deep state were in charge, that they had control of it. And then there was some kind of, I think someone I know said that this AI system that was sort of running things went rogue. And then in 2017, there seems to be evidence that they took it, the Trump team sort of took control of this AI. Now, I think that the way I'm seeing it and interpreting it is that when you've got this system that is so, it controls everything. I can't explain it any other way than everything, this entire reality. When you've got all of that, you've got everything. You win. That's it. You win. You've got all the information on everyone, all the dirt, everything. You know 5 steps ahead of what people are going to do. They've also got looking glass technology. Okay. They know what's happening. You can't dismiss these other
I hope that stuff
things.
falls into the right side, because in the hands of those that want to do us great harm, it's pretty much game over for humanity.
They do have it. And I have on the astral had access to that. I mean, I saw it. I mean, I thought it would. I said looking glass technology. I didn't know anything about it. I said, I happened to see that in my vision, and then everyone started going cuckoo crazy over that. I mean,
the clicking is back.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Very strange. I wanted to ask you about this date of 21st of December as well, because we're now only 10 days away from that. And a lot of emphasis is being placed on it. I do remember the same thing being said about the 21st of December 2012, and that turned out to be a big damp squib and a big nothing burger. And so many people were losing their minds about that. Oh, it's going to be the ushering in of a new age, or it's going to be this major calamity, this catastrophe befalling humanity. As far as I can make out, nothing earth-shattering happened on the 21st of December 2012. So now the narrative has shifted, and the emphasis is on the 21st of December 2020. So many psychics, many mediums, and some astrologers are talking about the significance of this date ushering in a new era. I do just want to play devil's advocate for a minute though, and read out an email that somebody sent me in the week, because I'm not doing this to rain on anyone's parade. The only reason I'm reading this out is to illustrate the wildly differing points of view and opinions that come across my radar all the time. So somebody will make a bold statement to me about something, and I can open the next email and it will be the exact 180-degree opposite of what the previous person has said, giving an entirely different viewpoint. So let me just read out this email, and then I'll get your take on what you feel the 21st of December represents. So this person said, many in the New Age movement are talking about a great shift in the collective consciousness and or a portal opening on the 21st of December. I'm not a channeler nor a psychic. I've been trained for many years in the wonderful art of astrology, and neither my long-term mentor nor I, nor many other highly experienced astrologers, see this coming up Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, which by the way happens every 20 years, as an easy time. Saturn is representative of fear, obstacles, frustrations, delays, rules, and regulations. It does not need to bring all or any of these things for you, as anything happening in the sky can or cannot affect you. As with any new or full moon, the effects on you always depend on your personal chart. However, in mundane astrology, which affects society as a whole, these planetary alignments do bring about certain themes. The great Saturn-Pluto conjunction of January 2020 brought the worldwide havoc of a pandemic, which isn't one, at least this person knows that, as death rates and empty hospital beds have shown. The Saturn-Jupiter conjunction is likely to also bring challenges. Stricter rules and regulations, Saturn, can now be put into place by law, Jupiter, For travel, Jupiter, and any things we do to expand the body and mind, Jupiter, i.e. entertainment, the arts, healing and yoga, etc. So this is a huge push by the government, Saturn, in implementing health passes in the UK to be able to do just about anything. So this person is suggesting that what is about to come in on the 21st of December might not be the great thing that many other psychics and mediums are predicting, and that it's not that rare. It's something that happens every 20 years, they're saying, as opposed to every few hundred or thousands of years. It's an alternative viewpoint. It's a different way of looking at things. So I throw that into the mix, and now I'll bat it back to you to get your take on all of that.
Okay, well, I'm not an expert on astrology, so, and I don't go with I can't back that up. I can't sort of say, okay, well, that's based on astrology. I never really saw it as all right, this is it, we're gonna go way up, as soon as 21st of December hits. I think there's many sort of points of ascension along the way. 21st of December is one of them. In fact, we can kind of look at it as this is the lowest point, the 21st of December. Okay, this is where everything gets really dark, and then we've got this sort of massive energy. The way I saw it when I tried to tap into it was that there was this massive change in frequency on that day. Okay, and this is also supposedly backed up with a prophecy from the Indigenous people in Australia. This is a very important date for them to carry out a particular ceremony, and it's very significant for them. And this has been, this prophecy has been around for a very, very long time. They've passed that by word of mouth. So it's significant regardless. The way my take on it is we have these dates in place when we say predictions or dates we'll go back to that thing of we are the creators. Okay, so the dates are there so that the collective focus can be on that point. When everybody's got their particular focus on a particular date, it changes the energy. It's actually us that's creating this kind of, I guess, shift in energy and ascension process. If you know what everybody's talking about, on the 21st of December, so many people are saying, we need to meditate on this day. We need to do this. We need to do this love, kind of like focus on love, focus on putting love into
the
activate
earth, our junk DNA and awaken.
Yeah. Okay. So my feeling was, now I was supposed to go to this ceremony in Uluru in Northern Territory in Australia. Okay. And I was invited by some elders here. And then when we got down to it, I wanted permission from the elders in actually Uluru, and the male elders were like, we don't want any hippies and new agers here, right? So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going. I'm not going to push it, even though it was the female elders that wanted me to be there, okay? So I've just gone, right, well, that's okay, because I don't have anyone to babysit my daughter at the time. I'm just not going to take part in that. There is another ceremony here near me, kind of 2 hours away, where I could participate in that. But my feeling is that I need to kind of be alone on that day and just really, regardless of what that astrology says, it is the solstice, and up here is the summer solstice. In the Northern Hemisphere, it is the winter solstice. So it's still a very significant time anyway for a year that is very explosive and unbelievable. And I think that if everyone just goes within and decides on what they want to do with that day or the week, the few days leading up to that point, any kind of collective focus on the positive, on a shift, on focusing on, raising sort of like this love vibration, or trying to envision a brand new way of being, moving out of this darkness and into a new future, I think that's going to make an impact regardless of what the stars say. Okay, the stars are a blueprint. They're not necessarily completely controlling you. We're more than this matrix. We're more than this reality. This is just one realm. Okay, we've got this little realm here, this plane of existence, and it's a matrix. It's contained in a certain thing. We're more than that. Okay, and the stars that are within this system are the programs that are controlling us. You are the creators, and you are not just governed by stars. That's the way I see it. I feel that the date itself is significant because we have allowed it to be significant. We have allowed it to, we have put our focus on this. And it's not about waiting for something to happen outside of ourselves and some blinding light to come and save us, right? It's us. We're doing it. We're creating it.
I had to wonder if in the UK, whether this big push for the vaccine that we've had in December is connected to this date, because at the beginning of December, Hancock's there saying, we're going to work 7 days a week, round the clock to roll this vaccine out. We want as many people as possible to get this vaccine in December. We want it done by the end of December. So they seem to be observing this date as being important. Yeah. And then over in the United States, you've got the debacle, the pantomime, the farce of the election still being dragged out. That's going to be dragged out seemingly to December and into January now. And it's all kind of dissipating the incoming positivity, it seems.
Yes. So that's what you've got to look at it as, okay, even if you don't believe it, they believe it. So these deep state people, these dark people, and most of the people in power are part of it. Okay, they run on ritual. They are obsessed with ritual. Okay, they love it, and they know this, and they're bred into it, and they study it, and they know the significance, and they know when. And you've interviewed Mark Passio, and he's told you all about these things. They have specific dates of sacrifice and all of that, and there always seems to be something going on at the spring equinox, and there's always that May Day thing and all of that. They run on ritual. They know the significance of this dark day, 21st of December, okay? They know that this is a significant date that they had planned from 400 years ago to sacrifice the US, for example, okay? So 400 years ago, when the first pilgrim landed on Plymouth Rock on 1620, that was a ritual, okay? But they've had this plan for ages, and they were fattening up the cow, which is the US, and they were going to sacrifice it, okay? So you've got all of this attention on that, and yeah, they were trying to put the fear in to get you off course, because they know the collective consciousness concentrated on this date to uplift and change the whole entire energy of Gaia and this planet, okay, through the loving energy that people would have been focusing on the 21st of December, and this whole prophecy that's been spoken about in many Indigenous tribes. They know that they had to do something. They're scrambling, right? They've got to do something. They've got to keep distracting you and taking you off course, all right? That's all they know how to do. They are not creators. These people are not people. They're archonic, satanic energies that do not know how to create, and they use us to create what they want, okay? So the only thing they can do is distract, subvert, invert, subvert. That's all they do, okay? That's all they do. And you know this from your research, that this is what they do, okay? And they manipulate every single part of the entertainment industry in order to grab your attention and put it in the direction, from the frequency of the music to the way, words are written in songs, to the way they ritualize everything, to the film clips, to everything. Everything is a ritual to them, and it's all there to control your consciousness. This war is a war on consciousness. This is why I don't give a shit about predictions, okay? This is not about that, okay? If you're going to live your life trying to hope for something in the distant future, you've got it all wrong, okay? You've got to live in the here and now, and those dates are markers, for example, for the collective to focus on, so that we can all sort of steer this timeline in a particular direction. They're markers along the way on this timeline, but that can change at any point, and they know it, right? So this is what you've got to take charge of, where you're putting your attention, and it goes for everything in your life. You've got to take charge of where you are putting your focus, and it goes for these emails that we get sent. I don't even bother. If they're looking anything negative, I do not even look at them.
I'm at that stage now.
There's people with masks. Yeah, there's people with masks.
I don't open video attachments anymore because I'm not going to like what I see.
Yeah, they don't exist. As far as I'm concerned, these things don't exist. As far as I'm concerned, this vaccine does not exist. As far as I'm concerned, these people with masks, they're background people. They don't exist. I have to keep my focus in a particular way because I'm carrying a whole thousands and thousands of people following me, and I've got to get them over the line. And I'm here to help people do that, because you create your reality, and I know that well and truly.
That's right.
And that's my job. You know, this is what I'm doing, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop doing that.
Well, we'll start to wrap up in a moment, but before we go, I just want you to address the lockdown survival guide that you put out a few weeks ago. You put out an MP3 of you narrating this, which I took a listen to, and there was some great advice in there, which I'm sure a lot of people would have found very useful during these challenging months. Maybe you just want to recap on what that was all about and where people can get access to it.
Yeah, I was really concerned. It was written with the during the time of a lot of, I had a lot of followers from Victoria who were really suffering, and a lot of my viewers and things like that were suffering from their lockdown situation. And I realized that it was basically about taking charge of your attention and your focus and living in the here and now. It took me a while to write it. I mean, I should have written it in a really quick way, but it's quite substantial information that I wrote for tips on how to survive. I called it a spiritual survival guide from lockdown and beyond. Okay, because it goes past lockdown. It's for any kind of state of crisis, I guess, that you're in, with some tips in there. And I've got a link where you can have an option to get it for free and download it for free, or you can choose to pay for it and like a donation, as in there's a specific price, but that's the donation for the work that it is. Okay. And then we've got the MP3. The MP3 is not for free, but you can buy that, but you can have the PDF for free. So I've got a link for that, and I've been doing these things where I'm writing certain things to go with some videos, depending on what it is, and it seems to be a lot of people love it. So that's there to you're really talking about. I mean, I can't really tell you what's in it, but it's about living in the moment, really, and giving you tips on that. Yeah,
with some good advice. All right. Well, we had a great conversation today, JC. I'm really glad we did it, and I'm sure we'll have another one before too long, because there's so much going on.
I know.
In 2021, we'll be looking at what's in store for us there. But thanks for coming on today. For people that are watching this on my channel or listening on my Spreaker, just remind them where to go to get your YouTube channel.
Sure. My YouTube channel is called Quantum Truths JCK, KAY. And just look me up. You can just go, I think it's just youtube.com/C/JCK. And that's my YouTube channel. And I think I've got a Facebook group still up on Facebook called Quantum Truths JCK. But there's all the links on YouTube, and there's lots of other places you could find me, I guess, from there. So thank you so much, Mark.
Right. Thanks for coming on today.
No worries.
All right, that was pretty good.